DENZA is coming to Australia. And while the lineup hasn't been confirmed yet, two of the potential options that are coming down here are right behind me right now. The DENZA B5 and the DENZA B8. Now, apart from size, there's a lot of differences between these two vehicles. So what are they? Well, that's what we're going to go over today on this episode of Beyond EV, your home for everything BYD. The DENZA B5 is a full-size 4x4 body-on-frame wagon that comes in 4 different variants in China, but it's not yet confirmed which version or versions will be headed overseas. As for size, the DENZA B5 measures in at 4.89 metres long by 1.97 metres wide by 1.92 metres in height and rides on a wheelbase of 2.8 metres. Its measurements put it in the same category as the Toyota Prado, Ford Everest and the Isuzu MU-X. In fact, it's almost identical in size to the Toyota Prado, give or take 1 or 2 centimetres in each direction. It will carry a curb weight of 2,890 kilograms, significantly heavier than the Prado and the Everest, both of which are around 500 kilograms lighter. But of course, all of this extra weight can be attributed to the LFP blade battery that's on board the DENZA B5. The DENZA B5 carries a minimum ground clearance of 220 millimeters. That's adjustable up to 310 millimeters with its DENZA B8 suspension setup, and also features a weighting depth of 790 millimeters. It also features approach and departure angles of 35 degrees and 32 degrees respectively. The ground clearance as well as the approach and departure angles are all underpinned by the DENZA B5's DENZA B8 hydraulic suspension system, which allows for adjustable ride heights, and why the specs of the BAO5 list 220mm as the minimum ground clearance, not the ground clearance. And in a step up of capability from the BYD Shark 6, the DENZA B5 will come fitted and feature 3 separate locks, both front and rear electronically actuated mechanical diff locks, as well as a third, somewhat simulated center lock, which BYD calls an energy lock. There's no mechanical connection between the front and rear axles, so the energy lock is designed to simulate that with electric motors by transferring and matching torque between the two motors in real time. And I say match power and torque and not divide power and torque because the two electric motors are individual motors capable of outputting its own power and torque. Unlike a conventional four-wheel drive system where a car's engine might output about 200 kilowatts, that needs to be divided equally between the two axles. Whereas on the DENZA B5, it has a 200 kilowatt front motor and a 240 kilowatt rear motor. So instead of dividing 200 by 2 axles, you get 200 on the front and 240 on the rear. It will match whatever the other axle is doing. And lastly, the fact that there's no mechanical connection and this is all performed electronically means that the DENZA B5 can transfer power and torque between the two axles in just 10 milliseconds. And this is in fact about 30 times faster than what can be achieved with a standard mechanical center lock. With all this turned on and activated, the DENZA B5 will be able to tackle grades as high as 100% or 45 degrees. And if that wasn't enough, the DENZA B5 will also come with BYD's Violent mode, which after going through the settings was referred to as Burst mode in our test cars. And what this effectively is a crawl mode where the car will apply maximum power and torque to all 4 wheels in low speed situations, usually in situations where you're traveling under 3 or 4 kilometers an hour. Moving on to performance and range specs, and the DENZA B5 runs on BYD's DMO dual mode off-road platform, the very same platform that the BYD Shark 6 operates on. The DENZA B5 will run the same 1.5 litre turbocharged engine currently used on the BYD Shark 6, but it is paired with electric motors that can supply even more power to the wheels. It will come with a 200 kilowatt front motor and a 285 kilowatt rear motor that will provide a combined total of 505 kilowatts of power and a staggering 760 newton meters of torque. That means that the DENZA B5 produces 3 times more power than that of the Toyota Prado and offers up more than 50% more torque. It even beats out the top spec Land Rover Defender V8 in both power and torque specs as well. On the road, this translates to a 0 to 100 time of a lightning 4.8 seconds. All of this is powered by a 31.8 kilowatt hour BYD LFP Blade battery, which will provide 100 kilometers of EV only range, and with an 83 litre fuel tank, combine that with the battery will provide over 1,000 kilometers of range in hybrid mode. Towing capacity for the model currently available in China is the same as the 2.5 tons as found on the current Shark 6. But given its power and capability it has on tap, this might actually change for the models headed to overseas markets. Step into the cabin of the DENZA B5 and I think you'll agree that it is a step up in finish when it comes to comparing it to the current BYD Shark 6 that we're used to. The one we were in was lined with black leather trim all around and featured a larger non-rotating 17-inch infotainment screen. And just like every other car in the DENZA brand, it is flanked by 2 digital screens, a digital dash cluster for the driver and a dedicated infotainment screen for the front passenger. I really loved the seats in this car. They looked very big and supportive and they were very comfortable to sit in for the time I spent in it. And as far as design aesthetic is concerned, I really liked the chain link motif they had going on throughout the cabin. If you look around the cabin, you will find chain link motifs all over the place, on the door handles, on the center console, even on the air vents. It's a little design feature that you don't notice when you first go in there, but once you do, you can't help but see it all around the cabin. The infotainment screen in the DENZA B5 is powered by BYD's D-Link 100 infotainment system, which is found in a lot of BYD branded vehicles. It's fast and responsive and offers a similar user experience to the other versions of D-Link found on some other higher end vehicles. Moving to the back row and you'll find similar levels of comfort for the rear seat passengers as well. You've got deep, comfortable and very supportive outer seats and you'll find there's enough room to fit a middle occupant as well. The rear outer seats are both ventilated and cooled and that can be controlled through the screen found behind the center console. If you look around in the back, you'll find the chain link motif continue as well on the door trims, where this chain link here looks like a little belt buckle. Moving to the back, and this is not a 7-seater, it's just a standard 5-seater, and the side opening rear door opens up to quite a large boot capacity with a large opening. No official specs out yet, but I do not think you will be disappointed with the space here at design. So off we go to test drive the DENZA B5. And of the cars I'm going to be able to drive up here in Shenzhen, this is the smallest of the lot. But despite that, it's similar in size to the BYD Shark, although I believe the BYD Shark is a little bit longer because of the tray. So let's see how this performs out on this track. Now we are on an ATV track out here in the mountains of Shenzhen. It's designed for little four-wheelers and we are in big SUVs at the moment. And the corners are very tight, but we'll see how we go. And so far, first thing you notice is just how quiet and smooth it feels. It is buttery smooth. The steering is probably a little bit too light, but it just makes the drive effortless. One thing I noticed, whenever I get close to an obstacle on either side, a tree branch or something like that, the camera will automatically pop up and show me exactly how far away that obstacle is and brings up the camera of the side that it's on. So I can see visually as well as audibly what is going on around me. I'm not driving with the camera on, just driving through now, but it just comes up automatically if it detects an obstacle. Now, this corner right here is very tight. There is a low-hanging tree branch, and let's see how we can navigate through it. There we go. Not too bad at all. We've got a little bit of a descent here. And away we go. So the DENZA B5, it's going to be the smaller of the two between the B5 and the B8. It is a 5-seater. There is no option for a 7-seater. And it does have the side closing rear boot, the barn door, so to speak. It is a similar size to the Toyota Prado. If you're familiar with the Prado, I think you're going to like this car, just how quiet it feels, how smooth it feels. And I found at times when it got stuck, there was just power on tap. So we're just going back up through the narrow pathway that leads onto the main track, and you can see the ATVs either side. Just gives you an idea of what this course was designed for, but it just eats it up like a champ. It's a fairly big car, but it drives a lot smaller. Like I drive a Seal, and to be honest, my seating position right now, I would say this is a pretty similar width in cabin size compared to the BYD Seal. So I find driving it a little bit familiar. Suspension wise, again, very smooth. It dampens out the bumps extremely well. It's able to crawl up. I've got a little ascent here, so what I'm going to do is I'm just going to stop it on the hill. It's going to stop. And let's just take off. Smooth. I could detect a tiny bit of wheel slip, but it detected it straight away and corrected it. So that was a good little experiment to go through. Going around some tight corners here now. Okay, now we've got a big descent coming up. I'm not sure if you can see this on the big camera, but if you can, this is quite a steep drop off here. So let's give it a go. Heading around the corner, about to finish up on the track. But yeah, no, overall, the B5, I think, is the car that Australian buyers are waiting for. It's the wagon version of the Shark 6 with 100 k's of EV range and nearly 1,000 kilometers of combined range. I think it's going to sell very well. I'm going to say if, but really I reckon when it comes to Australia.
The DENZA B8 is a large, full-size 4x4 body-on-frame wagon that also has not yet been confirmed for Australia, but there is a very high chance it'll get here eventually. The DENZA B8 is the bigger brother to the B5 and measures in at 5.19 metres long by 1.99 metres wide by 1.9 metres in height and rides on a wheelbase of 2.92 metres. This means that the DENZA B8 is larger in size than the Toyota Land Cruiser, about 20 centimetres longer in fact, yet shorter in height than the DENZA B5. It also carries a curb weight of 3,305 kilograms, heavier again from the DENZA B5, and this can be attributed to slightly larger LFP blade battery and larger displacement 2-litre turbo engine. The DENZA B8 carries a minimum ground clearance of 220 millimeters that is adjustable up to 310 millimeters with its D-Sus-P suspension setup, the same as the DENZA B5, but features a higher weighting depth of 850 millimeters. It also features approach and departure angles of 34 degrees and 35 degrees respectively at the maximum 310 millimeter clearance height. But this comes down to 29 and 18 degrees respectively when the car is dropped down to its standard height of 220 millimeters of ground clearance. The increased weighting depth and variable approach and departure angles will make the DENZA B8 quite a capable vehicle in a wide range of situations.
And just like the DENZA B5, the DENZA B8 will come with BYD's D-Sus-P hydraulic suspension system, which allows for adjustable ride height.
It will also come fitted with the same differential locks as found on the B5. It will come with front and rear mechanical locks that are electronically actuated, as well as the central energy lock. That will match the power and torque between the front and rear axles when required. It will also come with BYD's Burst Mode, the new name for Violent Mode, which will give the DENZA B8 the ability to crawl up slopes as steep as 45 degrees, or 100% grade.
The DENZA B8 runs on BYD's DMO dual mode off-road platform, but it's a very different iteration of it. The DENZA B8 runs BYD's larger 2-litre turbocharged engine, currently used in a lot of BYD's high-performance variants, and it's paired with 2 electric motors that will move the DENZA B8 with its larger size and heavier curb weight with similar capabilities to what you get on the DENZA B5. Altogether, the DENZA B8 will provide 550 kilowatts of power and a staggering 760 newton meters of torque. And on the road, it translates to a 0 to 100 time of a lightning 4.8 seconds, the same 0 to 100 found on the DENZA B5. All of this is powered by a slightly larger 36.8 kilowatt hour battery, which will provide 100 kilometers of EV-only range and comes with a larger 91-litre fuel tank. Combine that with a battery and it will provide even more range than the B5, over 1,200 kilometers of combined range in hybrid mode. BYD have developed this beast to be the bigger brother to that of the DENZA B5, and you'd think that with its larger size and heavier weight, it would suffer in terms of speed and capability. But as you've just heard, it's far from that. This DENZA B8 will be a very capable and powerful beast to contend with.
If the interior of the DENZA B5 is a step up from the BYD Shark 6, then the interior for the DENZA B8 is a step up again. It hits you as soon as you step into the cabin. The cabin feel of the DENZA B8 is a much more grand and luxurious experience. Don't get me wrong, the DENZA B5 is plush. It is a nice space to sit in, but you could tell by the design motifs they were going for, like the chain link motifs around the cabin, that they were going for a bit more of a tougher feel to that plushness. That's gone on the DENZA B8. There are no chain motifs on the DENZA B8 interior. It's just pure luxury and elegance. The B8 comes with the same 3 screens you get on the B5, the large 17-inch non-rotating central display, flanked by a digital driver's display and a third infotainment screen dedicated to the front passenger. The UI of the infotainment screen is almost identical to what you will find on the B5, but the DENZA B8 comes with BYD's more powerful D-Link 150 intelligent cockpit, which is a slightly more powerful hardware platform, which makes the infotainment system even more snappier and quicker to respond. The controls in the center console are similar again to what you find on the B5, but it's got a slight edge up again when it comes to final finish and quality, as the see-through crystal buttons have some sort of carbon fiber texture present within the button itself that you can see into. Look closely into the headrests and you'll see little grills to the sides of them, and that's because the DENZA B8 is fitted with a more advanced audio system that features inbuilt headrest speakers, and on the front passenger seat in particular, that will allow them to consume media on their own dedicated screen and hear their own sound without disturbing other passengers. And one thing I mentioned before, but will be included in both the B5 and the B8, is the inclusion of a 3-scent fragrance dispenser. Both the B5 and the B8 will come with this fragrance dispenser, and you can install 3 different fragrances and you can select which one you want to fill the cabin with from the central infotainment screen. Stepping into the second row of the DENZA B8 and you're met with similar levels of plush luxury and elegant design. The outer seats are electronically adjustable through these buttons here on the sides of the seat, which are also both cooled and heated. And there is also a large full-length panoramic sunroof, but the B8 features air conditioning vents on the ceiling as opposed to behind the center console, and you can see them here just to the side of the sunroof. But the biggest difference between the B5 and the B8 sits behind this row of seating. That's because the B8 comes with a third row. It is a 7-seat SUV.
And even the third row gets the same level of comforts you'll find in the middle and front row. But moving on to the back, and if you fold those seats down, you're met with quite a large boot capacity. There's no official specs out for the capacity size just yet, but with the seats down in both the B5 and the B8 has a noticeably larger boot capacity. So even with the B5 probably already having the largest boot capacity of any BYD car if it was to come to Australia, if the B8 were to come straight after it, it would quickly take its boot capacity around.
All right, so we're behind the wheel of the DENZA B8. And first impressions getting behind the wheel, it is already a step up, not just in size, but in quality inside the cabin. And that started from just adjusting the seat and steering wheel to my preferred position. It's got electric tilt and reach on the steering wheel, and just looking around the cabin, it's much more open and spacious. The door is further away. The passenger door is further away from me than what it was in the B5. So you notice it straight away. This is a bigger vehicle, a bigger beast. We've just hit the test track, and I wouldn't say, actually no, I would say it's smoothing out the bumps better. Now, as far as I'm aware, it runs the same DSUS P suspension system as the B5, but it could be just the added weight to this car or the longer wheelbase that just makes it just glide along and ride the bumps a little bit better than how it felt in the B5. Now I'm driving in convoy now, so I can't go as fast as what I'd like to in it, but now this little section gets you up on just two wheels as you angle down across it. And we've hit a traffic jam. Ooh, so one thing I've noticed straight away with the 360 camera is that you get side angle views, but you can actually see the angle from right at the front, the middle, and the rears as well. So you get a much better view of what's around you, both what's in front of the corner that you can't see, as well as what's coming around behind you in angles that you can't see. You can even rotate the view like you can in other BYD vehicles. And I noticed straight away that this is much smoother than what my BYD Seal is like. And I don't mind the BYD Seal. That itself is already smooth, but I can just feel just a tiny little bit of extra responsiveness that this has. And that would come down to the fact that this runs the D-Pilot 300 infotainment and ADAS system. So it's got 300 tops of processing speed, and it just makes it run so much smoother. And another feature that you'll find in the B8 that you won't find in BYD vehicles we currently get in Australia is the digital rear vision screen. As you can see, I'm putting my finger and there's in front of it and there's no reflection. That's because that is a camera view of what's happening at the back. But just looking behind me, there's quite a big viewing angle back there. It's not a small rear window. So this just makes it even more user-friendly with the amount that you're able to see back there. Looking down at the center console, you can see it's quite a familiar setup. It's definitely a more premium version of what you currently see in the BYD Shark 6. You've got chrome finishing around the buttons, see-through crystallized action buttons here for start, stop, and EV, HEV mode, and you've got a leather finish around the gear selector and around the side trimmings as well. You still get the under cabin storage, and you get two 50-watt chargers. And now I can't see it, but I'm pretty sure around the corner you also get the choice of 3 fragrances to select to fill the cabin with whatever pleasant scent that you desire. So now we're heading into an interesting bit of the course. There's a number of big boulders in the way. And we'll just see how the B8 tackles it. The cameras just make it so much easier. No issues at all. And I can actually see here on the steering wheel the two paddle shifters, and it's got the God's Eye symbol on it. So the DENZA B8 here in China, or the FangChengBao as it's known, comes with BYD's God's Eye B capability. And if you hear the beeps and bongs, that's typical of BYD vehicles, but there are a lot of obstacles, and just goes to show how tight this obstacle course is, but it's just eating it up. Remember, this car is a plug-in hybrid, but you can barely tell. This thing is currently on 36% state of charge, and it's got about a quarter of a tank of petrol left. And I can sort of hear the engine humming, but I think it's running because I can't tell if it's the engine or the air conditioning compressor, because we've got the aircon going. It's a very humid day here in Shenzhen, so we'll see. I should actually turn the aircon off, but I'm not game enough because it's actually too hot. And in terms of luxury and the amenities that are available in this car, it is top notch. Now, apparently we've got the bench in here, but apparently this car is also available with captain's chairs, and you get the DENZA captain's chairs, which provide shiatsu massage, heated and cooled seats, of course, as well as the extending leg rests that come up. That version of this car, the B8, is definitely a car that's designed to have someone else drive you in, not a car that you probably want to be driving yourself. Boot space. Now, I haven't had a chance to show you the boot space, but it is quite large. It's significantly bigger than what is available on the B5. And look, that's probably where a lot of the extra length in this car goes to, is the extra boot capacity that you get. But in saying that, the B5's no slouch either. It is quite a good space to have back in the back of the car. So that was the most rutted part of the track that I just went through, and I do notice that the B8 does it just a little bit better than what the B5 does it. So I think we're about to come to the end of the test track. My final assessment between the two, there is definitely a step up from the B5 to the B8, not just from size alone. There is a step up in interior quality and amenity, and a step up in driving dynamics and ability as well. You can feel it. This track is quite short, but you can definitely feel it in just the short amount of time I've had to drive it.
Okay, we go back to the track.
So there you have it. That was the DENZA B5 and the DENZA B8 and how they differ from one another. But I'm interested to hear your thoughts. If these are made available in Australia, which one would you buy? Let me know down in the comments. And if you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. And if you're new here, subscribe to Beyond EV for more BYD related content. I've got plenty more videos headed your way. That's it for now. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.